Good day everyone. This is Group 8 and our report is about weather forecasting and flood control. So, let's talk about first weather forecasting. So, we have the definition of these two words. Weather simply refers to the condition of air on the earth at a given place and time. It is a continuous, data-intensive, multidimensional, dynamic, and chaotic process, while forecasting is the process of estimation and unknown situation from the historical data. So, in short, yung weather forecasting is the application of science and technology to predict the state of the atmosphere for a given location. So, yung mga weather forecaster, nagre-refer sila sa past data or historical event to know the pattern of the weather. Halimbawa, if may bagyo, saan ba ito patutungo or kung anong bansa. We have the different types of traditional weather forecasting. The first one is use of barometer, and this tool here, as you can see, it is from the 19th century. So this is how we read the barometer. The larger the change in pressure, the larger the change in weather can be expected. If the pressure drop is rapid, a low pressure system is approaching and there is a greater chance of rain. And nowscasting, the forecasting of the weather within the next 6 hours is often referred to as nowscasting. So, sa loob ng 6 hours, mapipredict natin gamit ng mga technology if may rain shower or thunderstorms. So, looking at the sky, alam naman natin na ginagawa na natin to ever since. Halimbawa, pag nakikita natin yung clouds na madilim, mapapredict natin na talagang uulan or pag maliwan, walang ulan na darating. Analog technique or the analog method. It is a complex way of making a forecast requiring the forecaster to remember a previous weather event which is expected to be mimicked by an upcoming event. So, yung mga weather forecaster, nagre-refer sila or kailangang i-review yung mga past pattern weather kasi minsan may nare-repeat. So, kailangan nilang i-compare if meron ba siyang kaparehang pattern para ma-predict nila yung mga susunod na dadaanan ng bagyo or storms or rains.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Asraf H. Polangi. For this video, we're talking about weather forecasting and flood control. What is numerical weather prediction model? Numerical weather prediction (NWP) is the science of predicting the weather using models of the atmosphere and the computational technique. Current weather conditions are used at the input of the mathematical models of the atmosphere to predict the weather. This model usually provides surround point around the wind farm with a spatial resolution of the few kilometers. NWP uses the power of the computer to make a forecast. A forecaster examines how the future predicted by the computer will interact to produce the day weather. The NWP method is flow in the equation used by the model to simulate the atmosphere are not precise. A number of weather forecasting agencies operate modeling centers where supercomputers are used to run NWP models that span the entire globe. These include the National Center for the Environment Prediction (NCEP) in the United States, the United Kingdom Meteorological Office (UKMO), and the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecast (ECMWF). Although costly, a global approach to NWP is essential, especially for long-range forecasting. For this reason, achieve accurate forecast requires an accurate analysis from which to get the model started. This involves a computer-based process called data assimilation, is which the most recent weather observations from around the world are combined with the model forecast to create a global analysis of current conditions. This becomes the starting point for the next run of the NWP model and is the computer equivalent of the manual analysis cycle that forecasts carry out on an ongoing basis. Global model play a key role in modern weather forecasting, and meteorologists and Met Service routinely use the NCEP, UKM, and NCMWF model that to assist with the day-to-day production of forecasts and weather warning. This model gives insight into the behavior of weather system on a large scale without much emphasis on local detail. Next, what is ensemble forecasting? Ensemble forecasting to predict the weather forecast, meteorologists have developed atmospheric models that approximate the atmosphere by using ensemble forecasts to describe how atmospheric temperature, pressure, and moisture will change over time. The equations are programmed into a computer and the data on the present atmospheric condition are fed into the computer. The computer solves the equation to determine how the different atmospheric variables will change over the next few minutes. The computer repeats this procedure again and again using the output from the cycle as the input for the next cycle. For some this year, time is the future. The computer prints in a calculated information in this analysis the data, drawing the lines for the project position of the various pressure system. A forecasting uses the prognostics chart as a guide predicting the weather. There are many atmospheric models that represent the atmospheric weather, each one interpreting the atmosphere in slightly different way. Weather forecasting made for 12 and 24 hours are typically accurate. Forecasts made for 2 or 3 days are usually good. Beyond above 5 days forecast accuracy falls and rapidly. Weather information can also come from remote sensing, particularly radar and satellites. Next, what is radar? Radar stands for the radio detection and ranging. In radar, a transmitter sends out radio waves. The radio waves bounce off the nearest object and then return to the receiver. Weather radar can sense many characteristics of precipitations, its location, motion, intensity, and the likelihood of future precipitation. Most weather radar is Doppler radar, which can also track how fast the precipitation falls. Radar can outline the structure of a storm and is doing to estimate the possibility that it will produce a severe weather condition. Figure 1.1 Geostationary satellites. Next, what is weather satellites? Weather satellites have been an increasingly important source of weather data since the first one was launched in 1952. Weather satellites are the best way to monitor the large-scale system. Like storm satellites can also monitor the spread of the ash from the volcanic eruption, smoke from fires, and pollution. They are able to record long-term change. Figure 1.1 shows one of the geostationary satellites that monitor the condition over the world. Weather satellites may observe all energy from all wavelengths in the electromagnetic spectrum. Most important are the visible light and infrared heat frequencies. Next, what is weather maps? Weather maps is simply and graphically depict meteorological condition in the atmosphere. Weather maps may display only one feature of the atmosphere or multiple features. They cannot depict the information from computer models or from the human observation. Weather maps are found in newspaper or television and on the internet. On a weather map, each weather station will have an important meteorological condition plotted. These conditions may include the temperature, current weather, dew point, cloud cover, sea level, air pressure, wind speed, and direction. On a weather map, meteorologists use many different symbols. These symbols give a quick and easy way to put the information into the map. Figure 1.2 shows some of these symbols used for weather map. Generally, there are two methods used in a weather forecasting, namely the empirical and dynamical approach. Occurrence of analogs, and is often referred to by meteorologists as analog forecasting. This approach normally is useful for predicting local recorded cases are plentiful. Dynamical approach is based upon the equation and forward simulation of the atmosphere and is often referred to as a computer modeling. This dynamical approach is useful for modeling large predict short-term weather efficiently. Most of the weather forecasting system combine both empirical and dynamical approaches. That's all this video. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. I am Nabil M. Haji Ali from Group 8, Section A. Our topic for today is the types of weather forecasting. Forecasting is a daily weather forecast involves the artwork or the work of thousands of observers and meteorologists all over the world. Ang ating pag-forecast ay kinakailangan ng maraming tao para sa pag-observe ng ating mga weather sa buong mundo. Nakakatulong ang computers sa pag-forecast ng accurate result compare sa dati nating mga weather forecasting. Ang ating mga satellites is umiikot sa ating mundo. Ino-observe nito ang mga details ng ating mga weather at isesend sa ating mga satellite para gawing forecast. Meteorologists actually use a combination of several different methods to compute with their daily weather forecast. Ito yung mga persistent forecasting, synoptic forecasting, statistical forecasting, and computer forecasting. Persistent forecasting is the simplest method of forecasting, which is you have to depend on the weather today then predict the weather tomorrow. It is more likely that the weather of today will be the same as of tomorrow. This method of forecasting strongly depends upon the presence of a stagnant weather pattern, which is kung sunny days din ngayon. Kung rainy days, malamang rainy days din ngayon. It assumes that the weather is doing now is what it will be continue to do. And at the same time, ang mga forecaster or ang mga meteorologists, gumagawa sila ng mga observation para maging accurate din ang kanilang ginagawang forecast. Ito yung sample ng ating persistence forecasting. Today, ang height ng ating sky is 83 degree Fahrenheit or ang pinakamataas na temperature is 83. Bukas, sa Thursday, 83 din. Sa next day, 83, which is the same lahat ng kanilang mga temperature. So, it is more likely na uulan today, tomorrow, and the next day. Letter B is the synoptic forecasting. This method uses the basic rules for forecasting. Gumagamit sila ng rules sa pag-forecast and yung mga meteorologists natin, gumagawa sila ng observations and ina-apply nila yung mga rules to make a short-term forecasting. Katulad nitong sa Bagyong Odette, meron silang rules na sinusunod which is yung mga dadaanan ni Bagyong Odette. So malalaman nila kung saan ba ito tutungo. I-forecast nila kung uulan ba sa Bicol, sa Mindanao, sa Visayas, sa Luzon. Doon nila malalaman because ginagamit nila itong mga rules. Meron din tayong statistical forecasting which is tinatanong ng mga forecast yung meteorologists yung kanilang mga sarili. What does it usually do this time of the year? So it is more likely that this month, last year is a rainy month or a rainy season, and this year it will be a rainy season then. And kinukolek nila yung mga average record ng temperatures, which is doon din sila nagbe-base kung ano ang magiging weather natin for today. Look at this example. Monthly rainfall forecast. On August 2016, ang ating mga forecaster or ating mga meteorologists na found out nila na rainy day dito sa area ng Mindanao sa mga blue areas, and at the same time noong 2010 ganun din ang kanilang observation. So it is more likely na this 2022 ganun din sa month na August. Mayroon tayong computer forecasting, which is kinokollect ng mga forecasters ang kanilang mga observation at in-input sa computers, certain computers, and ito na yung nagde-decide kung uulan ba or hindi. So ang kaibahan lang is itong computer forecasting is kailangan gumagawa din sila ng ibang different method para i-support dito sa computer forecasting, which is para maging more accurate siya. Ganito. For example, i-input nila yung mga numbers or numberings ng kanilang details or kanilang na-collect. I-input nila sa computer and then ito yung magiging result. So, i-apply nila yung persistence forecasting para maging accurate ang kanilang result, which is kung umuulan ba ngayon, and at the same time sa kanilang computer forecasting is nasa pulang area ang location. So it is depending on each other based sa kanilang observations and a computer details. Using all above method, forecasters come up with their best guess as to what weather conditions will be over the next few days. Weather forecasting now has a wide range of operational products that are traditionally classified under the following groups. Number 1 is the very short range forecast. This is the daily forecast of weather at nakakatulong ito sa ating mga irrigation engineers, marines, and aviators. Ito din is nakakatulong sa paggawa ng mga irrigation para sa kanilang safety dahil ito ay day-to-day forecasting. For example, today is uulan, so kailangan i-forecast mo agad yung mangyayari ngayon sa ating weather para kung may mga gumagawa ng irrigation is ma-prevent yung mga accidents like flooding na nandoon sila sa work site. At the same time, sa ating mga pag-adjust sa ating mga agricultural operations and production of plants, and napaprevent nito yung mga unnecessary na mga agricultural scenarios. For example, may nag-ani ng palay, so hindi niya alam, uulan pala ngayon. So, masisira yung kanyang palay. So, ang day-to-day forecasting is nakakatulong sa ating mga magsasaka para ma-prevent nila yung mga accidents or disaster na maaaring mangyari sa kanilang mga pananim. It is only valid for 24 to 48 hours with 70 to 80% accuracy. Hindi siya fully 100% na accurate, pero valid lang siya for 1 day or 2 days. We have a long range forecast. This is helpful forecasting weather for the next 1 to 2 months. Ito yung, for example, the first day of January, mag-forecast sila, okay, this month, uulan siya. So, it is helpful to decide on soil moisture management and decision on selection of crops and decision to making irrigation with limited water supply. Nakakatulong din siya sa pag-schedule ng ating mga crops. For example, maulan these days, so kailangan i-prevent mong anihin yung mga palay or i-prevent mong magtanim sa season na ito kasi, for example, yung pananim mo is hindi siya pwede sa maulan. So, kailangan mo siyang i-prevent and makakatulong itong long-range forecast para ma-predict mo yung mga result ng weather this next 3 to 2 months or 2 to 3 months. For example, nagtanim ka ng iba't ibang pananim like mais. So, hindi pala siya pwede sa snow. So, diba? Alam mo kung kailan siya pwedeng itanim using the long-range forecast. Itong extended forecast naman, it gives emphasis on type of weather, sequence of rainy days, normal weather, hazards in farming such as strong winds. Ito yung parang, for example, nagtanim ka ng palay, alam mong malakas yung hangin this month, so kailangan anihin mo na agad yung palay mo or else masisira siya kasi matutumba yung mga palay mo. This is very useful in determining the sowing time, useful judge the sowing depth and schedule of harvesting, time of spraying and pesticide floration nutrition, foliar nutrition, and the farm management. Kasi nga kung mapapansin mong darating na yung mga malalakas na hangin, kailangan i-extend mo yung pag-forecast or na-extend yung pag-forecast para hindi masira yung iyong mga ani or yung mga fruits mo mahulog sa lupa so magiging useless. So it will be really useful in our farming and crops. Nowcasting is a weather forecasting is given to 2 to 3 hours in advance. Kailangan ito yung for example, exclusive na balita. Ang ating panahon ngayon ay uulan sa dahil sa paparating na low pressure area. So nakita nila sa low pressure area is nandito sa area natin. So ibabalita nila agad. Okay, 2 to 3 before the low pressure area came to this place and i-announce na nila sa kanilang forecasting na uulan dito. Kailangan yung mga sinampay nyo, tanggalin nyo na kung mga example lang yun. And nakakatulong din siya para ma-prevent na kung may mga kulog at kidlat is huwag ka munang lalabas from 2 to 3 hours. And napapredict niya kung mga anong oras, mga 6 hours ahead. Kailan siya mawawala. And that's all for our report today in weather forecasting. Maraming salamat po. Once again, I am Haji Ali Nabil M. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I am Binami Umar Zaman. So ayusin yung topic is importance of weather forecasting. So weather forecasting is used in many situations like severe weather alert and advisories predicting the behavior of the cloud for air transport, prediction of water risk in a sea, agricultural development, and avoiding forest fire. So the second one is severe weather alerts and advisories. A major part of modern weather forecasting is the severe weather alert and advisories, which are the National Weather Services issue in anticipation of severe or hazardous weather are expected. This is done to protect life and property. Some of the most commonly known of severe weather advisories are the severe thunderstorm and tornado warning, as well as the severe thunderstorm and tornado watch. Other forms of these advisories include winter weather, high wind, flood, tropical cyclone, and fog. Severe weather and advisories and alert are broadcast through the media, including radio, using emergency system as the emergency alert system, which break into regular programming. The third is predicting the behavior of the cloud for air transport. So the aviation industry is especially sensitive to the weather, and accurate weather forecasting is essential. Fog or exceptionally low ceiling can prevent many aircraft from landing and taking off. Turbulence and icing are also significant in flight hazards. Thunderstorms are a problem for all aircraft because of the severe turbulence due to their updraft and outflow boundaries. Icing due to the heavy precipitation as well as large hail, strong winds, and lightning, all of which can cause severe damage to an aircraft in flight. Volcanic ash is also a significant problem for aviation as aircraft can lose engine power within ash cloud. So the port is predictive of water waste in a sea. Commercial and recreational use of water waste can be limited significantly by wind direction, speed, wave periodicity, high tides, and precipitation. This factor can each influence the safety of marine transit. Consequently, a variety of codes have been established to efficiently uh, uh, transmit detailed marine weather forecast to vessel pilot via radio. For example, marine forecast typically weather forecast can be received at sea through the use of radio fax. So the agricultural development weather plays an important role in agricultural production. It has a profound influence on the growth, development, and yields of a crop. Incidence of pests and diseases, water needs, and fertilizer requirements in terms of differences in nutrient mobilization due to the water stresses and timelines and effectiveness of prophylactic and cultural operation on crop, whether aberration may cause physical damage to crop and soil erosion. The quality of the crop produced during movement from field to the storage and transport to market depends. It depends on whether bad weather may affect the quality of the produce during transport and viability and vigor of seeds and planting materials during the storage. So, avoiding forest fire, weather for forecasting of wind, precipitations, and humidity is essential for preventing and controlling wildfire. Different indices like the forest fire weather index and the Hens index have been developed to predict the area area areas more at risk to experience fire from natural or human causes. Condition for the development of a harmful insect can also be predicted by weather forecasting. Military application, military weather forecasters present weather condition to the warfighter. Community military weather forecasters provide pre-flight and in-flight weather briefs to pilot and provide real-time resource protection services for military installation. Naval forecasters cover the waters and ship water forecast. The Navy provides as special services to both themselves and the rest of the federal government by issuing forecasts for tropical cyclone across the Pacific and Indian Ocean through their Joint Typhoon Warning Center. So Air Force weather provides weather forecasting for the Air Force and the Army. Air Force forecasters cover operation in both wartime and peacetime operation and provide Army support. Military and civilians forecasters actively cooperate in analyzing and creating weather forecast product. So that's all. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.
Floods are part of nature events and they exist in the past and they will continue to exist. Floods are also part of Earth's natural hydrologic cycle. The cycle circulates water throughout the environment, and this process maintains an overall balance between water in the air, on the surface, and in the ground. So we have three major types of flooding: the riverine flooding, coastal flooding, and the shallow flooding. In the riverine flooding, channels are defined features on the ground that carry water through and out of a watershed. They may be called rivers, creeks, streams, and ditches. They can be wet all the time or dry most of the time. So, halimbawa, in the river, kapag umulan ng malakas, magpo-flow siya, and that is riverine flood. Coastal flooding normally occur when dry and low-lying land is submerged by seawater. The range of a coastal flooding is a result of the elevation of floodwater that penetrates the inland, which is controlled by the topography of the coastal land exposed to flooding. So, ang pinaka-example dito is yung tsunami. Tsunami is a large wave often called a tidal wave caused by an underwater earthquake or volcano. A tsunami is a pressure wave that can raise water levels as much as 15 feet. Yung tsunami is very dangerous at nangyayari ito sa area within Pacific Ocean, and the very example of this is yung tsunami in Japan. Bakit ito dangerous? Kasi nangyayari siya in a clear sky, kahit walang storm, basta-basta na lang magre-raise yung wave, which is caused by volcano or earthquake. So, yung mga tao, unaware sila, halimbawa kung nasa tabing dagat sila, hindi nila malalaman if may tsunami bang paparating, basta na lang aangat yung tubig. So, sa shallow flooding, kadalasan nangyayari ito sa mga flat areas kung saan walang madaanan yung tubig. Halimbawa, yung mga kalsada natin dito sa ating area sa Lanao del Sur, walang mga drainage yung kalsada. So, ang nangyayari pag may mga kahit konting ulan, nagbabaha kasi walang madaanan yung tubig. Sa shallow flooding, it occurs in flat areas kung saan walang malabasan yung tubig, halimbawa sa kalsada. And we are very familiar na sa lugar natin sa within the Lanao del Sur, pag umuulan or may kunting ulan, nagbabaha kasi walang madaanan yung tubig at na-stuck yung ulan sa gitna.